Hi everyone, and welcome to the video on how to use training collars and how to use pressure. Now I have a lot of things written behind me on the whiteboard, so let's go through everything one at a time. First of all, I just want to share these 3 quick notes with you. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the Micro Educator, the Herm Springer prong collar, and the Starmark Pro training collar. Okay, so in this video, we're going to primarily be focusing on this e-collar right here, the Micro Educator. We're going to be focusing on the Herm Springer prong collar, which is this right here, and the Starmark Pro training collar. The second note I want to share with you is that there's no downside to using these collars, okay? Only upside. I don't know how else to say it, so I'll just say it again. There's no downside to using these collars, only upside. But you're free to use whatever collar you want during training, okay? As you go through the course, you're free to use whatever collar you feel comfortable with when training your dog. The choice is up to you. And lastly, why do we want to use these collars? And the answer is very simple. Because of the results that they're going to allow us to get and the results that they're going to allow us to get quickly. And the results that we want is this: no pressure around the dog's neck. We want the dog, when we're training them, to learn quickly so that they walk around with no leash pressure around their necks, okay? So when we're teaching the dog to walk, we want them to walk around no matter where we are with no pressure around their necks. If we're teaching them to stop with us, like at the top of a staircase or something, we want them to stop with us with no leash pressure around their necks. That's the result that we want to get during training our dogs, and these training collars are going to help us get there, okay? These collars are not going to train your dog for you, all right? These training collars are not magic wands or magic tools. They are training tools. We have to know how to train, which is what this course is going to help you do, of course, but these training collars are going to help us get the result that we want. Number 1, let's talk about e-collars. Every single dog I train and every dog that features in this course is going to be wearing an e-collar. So I want to talk to you about the brands that I recommend and the models that I recommend in case you're open-minded to getting one yourself. So there's only 2 companies I recommend you buying an e-collar from: E-Collar Technologies and Dogtra. All right, these are the only 2 I recommend you buying an e-collar from, and it's what all the best professionals on YouTube are using when it comes to e-collar training. Stay away from all the cheap stuff that you find on Amazon for 50 bucks or 80 bucks or 120 bucks. Stay away from all that garbage. It is not worth getting. Do not buy it under any circumstance, okay? Only buy from E-Collar Technologies or Dogtra. Now, when it comes to the models that I recommend, I use this 90% of the time. This is the Micro Educator from E-Collar Technologies. This is what I'm going to be working with every single dog throughout this course, and it's what I recommend you buying if you're open-minded to getting an e-collar. Or there's also the Dogtra 280C that I also recommend sometimes to clients. Number 2, what does it actually feel like? So until you purchase one yourself, to put it on yourself and know exactly what it feels like, I'll try and describe it to you as best as I can, right? First of all, this has 100 levels on it, and most people begin to feel the sensation of the e-collar at level 6 or 7. So it's at 7 right now, and I literally just feel it. And what I feel is this: a finger just tapping me like this. That's all I feel. It's a little touch, okay? And if I go from 7 to 8 to 9, then all I feel is that little touch being a little bit more intense. That's all it is. And of course, every number you dial up, you feel a little bit more pressure and a little bit more intensity. By the time you get to like 15, it kind of feels like a hair being pulled on your arm. And if you go all the way up to 20, it feels like a bad mosquito bite. And if you go to 23, or if you go to 29, or if you go all the way to 34, it just increases in pressure and in intensity. That's all it is, all right? Number 3, how to introduce the collar to your dog. Now, I've never seen a dog who has a problem with this being put on them, but here's what you can do to introduce this to your dog properly.
It's really simple. Just put some food and some treats around the collar. That way the dog can see it, hear it, and be close to it. And then after that, you can start having your dog get a treat by you putting your hand through the collar and bringing the collar closer and closer to him until he starts to put his face through it. And then you can kind of put it over his head and kind of just jiggle and wiggle it. He'll get used to it. It's no big deal.
Number 4, where do you put the collar and on what side? If I'm training a dog to walk with me on the right side, I'm going to place the e-collar on the right side of the dog's neck like this. If I'm training a dog to walk with me on the left side, I'm going to place it to the left of the dog's neck like this, about 90 degrees, maybe a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower, based on the shape of the dog's neck and on the sides. And you want to put it nice and high below the jaw and below the ear. Number 5, how to make good contact. This is very important, okay? For you to feel this, it has to make contact with your skin. And same is true for your dog. It has to touch your dog's skin. So how do you make good contact? Do not buy any long-haired pins that you see on the internet when they tell you that this helps get through the dog's long, thick fur, okay? A lot of them do not work. It does not work. It's not a guarantee that it's going to work, so do not buy it. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to always give a haircut 100%. Every single dog that I train, every client that I work with, I give their dog a haircut with a dog grooming razor. That way I can ensure good contact from the e-collar directly on the dog's skin, directly on that haircut. So always give a haircut to your dog 100%. If that means you have to use scissors and peanut butter to distract your dog, so be it. Do whatever you need to do, but get rid of that hair because it gets in the way. So always give a haircut to your dog. Find a way, get it done, but you need to do this 100% of the time. Number 6, the e-collar has to be tight and snug, never loose. This is very important, okay? The e-collar has to be tight and snug, never loose. You should not be able to move this around your dog's neck freely. You should not be able to, okay? And here's how you can make sure you're doing it properly. First, just put it on your dog and put it at whatever tightness you feel it requires, okay? Just put it on your dog and do whatever you want. And then double check that tightness 5 minutes later. You're gonna see it's actually a lot looser than you thought it was. And here's how tight you have to put it, all the way -1. So what do I mean by all the way -1? Imagine my arm is the dog here, and I put this around my dog like this, okay? And I wanna go all the way -1. So you guys can tell by just looking right now that the e-collar is loose. I can move it around, it's loose, okay? Ask yourself this when you put it around your dog. Can I go one tighter? Yeah, I can go one tighter, I just did it. Can I go one tighter again? Yeah, I can, you know what? So just do it, just do one tighter. Can I go all the way? Can I actually do it again? You know what? I actually can. It's a little hard here because I'm just using one hand. Boom. That's all the way. If I try to go one more, if somebody said, Michael, I'll give you $1 million if you can do one more, I actually can't. I can't go any further than that. My arm just won't allow it. This is all the way. -1. Take it off 1, okay? Boom. That's nice and tight, nice and snug, okay? As soon as I put it one less tight again, now it's getting kind of loosey-goosey. I can put my fingers under the prongs here. Don't do that. You go all the way -1. Number 7, how to introduce the pressure to your dog, and do dogs get little red rashes from using the e-collar, okay? I've been doing this for a long time. I have rarely seen dogs get a little bit of an irritation, red little rash when using this. When I have seen it, it's because I have to go quite high on the e-collar, all right? So in case your dog gets a little red rash, don't worry about it, and 99% of them do not, okay? And here's how I recommend you introduce the pressure to your dog.
First of all, make sure your dog has a good haircut on the side of their necks, and make sure the e-collar is placed directly on that haircut, tight and snug. And then all you're gonna do is start having the dog feel the e-collar at the lowest perceived sensation level that the dogs can usually feel it at, which is usually 6 or 7 on the micro educator. And then all you're gonna do is touch the e-collar, pop, pop, pop a couple times and give the dog a treat. Touch the e-collar 2-3 times, pop, 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 and give the dog a treat, okay? That way the dog sees that there's a new sensation and there's a new feeling around his neck, and he's gonna get desensitized to it really quickly, and he's also always getting a treat every time this happens. This is gonna allow both you and your dog to ease yourselves into your dog feeling some e-collar pressure. That way you don't have to be worried about anything, you don't have to feel overwhelmed, and that way your dog isn't either.
Number 8, when to dial up and down on the numbers, and how many touches do we give the dog. It all comes down to how we're training the dog. Are we training the dog to heel with us, or are we correcting them for jumping? And as you go through the course and start watching these videos and start watching example after example after example of how I'm training dogs, you're gonna get a clear understanding of how I'm using this. First of all, I only use this when the dog is away from me at the end of the leash, hitting the end of the bubble. That's the only time I turn this pressure on. And I always start nice and low before I go up. I start with every dog at 6 or 7 or 8, nice and low, and I have them feel that sensation over and over again when they stray away from me. And then I go up one number at a time, like you'll see in these examples in my videos, okay? You're gonna see exactly how I do everything, and I take my time with this. There's no rush to go up with the numbers. We want the dog to understand that there's pressure away from you. Our job is to introduce it consistently and slowly as well. So all the examples are coming up in my course, but essentially I dial up and down slowly. So I go from 7, then to 8, then to 9, then to 10, then to 11, then back down to 8, and then back up to 13, 14, 15, and back down to 10. I play with it, okay? I have the dog feel the sensation is continuously there. And how many touches do I give the dog? Think of it this way. When the dog is at the furthest point away from me, that's when the pressure turns on. And it continuously turns on until he comes back into the bubble a little bit. So if the dog strays towards you, the audience right now, if I simply have to tug the dog back like this, 1 touch, or 1, 2, 2 touch, or 1 touch. Right? Up, up. But if the dog stays there for like 3 seconds like this, during that entire time that he's away from me, pulling me, at the end of the leash with my hand extended out, I'm gonna be touching this 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And lastly, number 9, in this course, the micro educator is going to be used for a lot of different things, such as teaching every single dog to heel and to walk with us beautifully. We're going to teach dogs long line, loose leash walking with the micro educator. We're also going to teach the dog perfect place command in any environment with all the distractions that you can think of. We're going to teach the dog some good boundaries and impulse control with this. We're also going to teach the dog some recall, and we're also going to use this to discourage and correct all forms of jumping, nipping, and barking in the car. Okay. You're going to see how amazing this tool is when we use it properly to get the results that we want. Okay, so that the dog can learn some new skills and that your dog can behave and you can train your dog properly.
Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to turn this on quickly and how to adjust the settings. So first of all, when you get this, behind it there's a big button that says on and off. You got to hold this for about 2 seconds and then boom, this thing's going to turn on. And then to turn the receiver on, you're going to see on the side of the remote there's a little red dot there. And there's also a little red dot right here on the receiver. And when you connect them, the receiver is going to flash green as if to say it's on. So now this is on and it's going to continuously flash green every 2-3 seconds, letting you know it's on. Of course, to turn this off, just connect the red dots again and then boom, like that, this is now off. And of course, to turn the remote off, you got to hold the big button in the back for about 2 seconds like this until it turns off. So it's as simple as that, right? And of course, behind this remote here, there is a little button here. This is to adjust the setting. So if I hold it, I'm going to go from C to MC on the screen. You see on the screen it says MC, and if I hold it again, it's going to go only to M. And if I hold it again, it's going to go back to the C that it initially was. This is where I'm going to recommend you put it. Put it at C. C stands for continuous. That way, when you're touching the dog, pop, 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 sometimes you can go pop, 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 and kind of hold it a little bit because you have a continuous pulse through the collar, okay? So don't put it at M or MC. And also, there's 3 buttons on this thing here, okay? There's only one that you need, and it's the one right here closest to the little dial. The red is a boost, okay? Like you can read about it and all that kind of stuff. Only thing you need to know is this button right here. This is the only thing you need to use. Don't use the vibrate or like the button on the side here for vibrating the collar. Just use the one here and get used to playing with this dial up and down, okay? Very important. And both the collar and the receiver have a little hatch here that you plug this into in order to recharge it every 2-3 days. So make sure it's charged before you train, and that's it. And make sure you turn it off when you're not using.
Next, let's talk about the Herm Springer prong collar and the Star Mark Pro training collar. And the reason that these collars are so great is because they have multiple contact points with round edges, no different than your finger poking your chest here. And what it does is it really allows us to get our dog's attention when we give them a little nudge release, okay? A little pop release on the leash. It really helps us get their attention and to train them with what it is that we're trying to teach them, okay? Number 1, how to introduce the collar. Because this is metal and it's clanky and it makes a lot of noise and the dog sees a lot of different things, here's how I recommend you introduce it to your dog.
It's really simple. Just take some treats or some food and put it around the collar. That way the dog has to go eat the food, touch the collar, see the collar, and hear the collar when it moves around. After that, you can jiggle the collar close to the dog, right? So just jiggle the collar and give your dog a treat. And then after that, put your hand through the collar and have your dog get a treat that way. And then do that a couple times and then have your dog come closer and closer until he puts his face through the collar, feels the collar, hears the collar, and then your dog will be desensitized in no time to it.
Number 2, where do you put the collar and how snug do you put it? You want to put the collar high up under the jaw, below the ears. You don't want it resting low on the dog's shoulder muscles, okay?
Right here. You want to be able to turn this easily with 2 hands, okay? You see this? I'm able to turn it nicely, and I can easily put a finger under the prongs here. That's perfect. And sometimes the collar starts to fall down a little bit, right? You simply just bring it back up, okay? Bring it up and pull your dog's skin and hair under. Again, this needs to be nice and high, not nice and low on the shoulders down here.
Number 3, how to add or remove links and how do you tighten links. Now here's the thing, when you buy this brand new, this is a Herm Springer 2.25 millimeter. I recommend this for dogs to be up to about 75 pounds. If you have a dog with a bigger neck than this, you're gonna have to buy extra links on the side so that you can add it to the collar to make the collar longer. So if you have to add or remove links, it's simple. You just have to get used to doing this. You pinch and push, and then you pinch and pull. Just get used to doing this, okay? Pinching them out and putting them back in, right? Once you know how to do it, it takes no time at all, but just get used to it to add a link to make the collar longer or remove it to make the collar shorter. And then how do you tighten the links? I find that when you buy this brand new, the 2 lower links down here, the first 2 down here, I find them to always be a little bit loose. So I'm always gonna encourage you that if you buy this brand new, take this out, okay, like pinch it out, and then squeeze these apart to make it so that when you pinch it back in, it's nice and solid and nice and tight, okay? So I always find these two down here to be a little, I don't want to say loose, but not very tight. So that's how you can tighten the bottom links. Number 4, how to fit a safety clip and why. What is a safety clip and why do you need one when you're working with a prong collar, okay? First of all, when you're working with a prong collar, it has 2 little circle loops, okay? There's this big one here, and then there's this little one here that rotates. The leash goes on the little one that rotates. The big one here, you can attach the safety clip to it, and you can attach it to your dog's flat buckle collar. Okay, this is very important because in case you incorrectly fitted the prong collar and then you went out for a walk and then the dog pulled a little bit and then boom, the collar came off, all right? So always have a safety clip when you're working with the prong collar or the Star Mark Pro Training collar. Number 5, how to introduce the pressure properly. So when you first put this on your dog's gonna feel a whole bunch of contact point sensations around their neck. It's very important that you introduce it to them in a very gentle and smooth fashion, okay? So I call it bubble pressure dancing, when you kind of just let your dog reach the end of the bubble, and when they do, you apply the slightest little bit of pressure, just so they go, oh, that's different. That's different, and they kind of just get used to it, okay? Because some dogs will panic a little bit when they first feel this, not because it hurts, but because they feel so many things around their necks and they're like, whoa, that was different, I've never felt that before, okay? But very important, introduce the pressure slowly with your dog and then just start training your dog like you normally would. But always be careful with the pressure when you use this, okay? Be gentle and smooth at first. And lastly, number 6, how to use pressure properly. The answer is very simple. It's with a pop release. All right. To use pressure properly, you have to get used to doing this. Pop and release. Don't pull and yank. You want to pop and release like a quick whip. All right. Pop, release.
Now let me show you some examples of trainers online talking to their clients about the exact same thing I'm mentioning here, the pop release when applying pressure. You have to pop and release the pressure. Don't just pull and yank.
Yeah, I don't know how hard you want me to pull.
I'll show you. You're kind of doing this,
yeah,
where you're kind of just pulling him on, whereas it needs to just be more of a...
Right, okay.
Not enough, not enough, not enough.
Yeah.
Whereas it needs to be...
A big jolt, right, okay.
But the popping motion is wrong. They do this. And they pop up and down, slack, and then pop back, like that, okay? Here's the mistake they make. They pop back and they maintain the pressure, right? What you do is when you pop, you've got to go back to slack.
So here I'm showing some clients on how to do the pop release, and she's doing a good job popping and releasing the pressure, but I can tell that she's not popping very hard. I can tell by just looking at the collar and her husband's arm. So I tell her, you have to increase the level of pressure in order to truly discourage your dog. So don't be afraid to go up on the pressure. How much pressure is she putting on? Not a lot, eh?
No.
So go harder, because that's like a 2 out of 10. Yeah, more. It's very important that when you start these pop releases with your dog, always start with small pressure and then gradually go up with the pressure if needed. And make sure you release the pressure fast. Right here, I'm releasing the pressure by going straight back towards him fast.
Okay, I have to go back where I am.
Fast.
Okay,
Yeah, like
okay.
this, on off.
Okay, okay.
On off quickly. So this owner wasn't popping and releasing, she was popping, pulling, and holding and choking, okay? You don't want to do that. What you want to do is pop and release quickly. Look how quickly my hands go back towards the dog's head. Once I pull the leash and I give a quick snapping pop, look at my hand, I go back towards the dog's head, allowing the leash to go slack again. It's important to note that if you're e-collar training, like I'm going to be doing throughout this course, I'm not going to be pop releasing the leash very much. Look at the leash when the dog reaches the end of the leash. I don't pop or release it very hard. That's because I'm letting the e-collar be the pressure that the dog feels when he or she's away from me. Pop, 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 and then I walk away, okay? I stop touching the button, pop, 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 when the dog stops pulling and stops being away from me, okay? So when you're working with an e-collar, like you're going to see me do throughout this course, you don't have to pop or release the leash very much. Pop, 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 pop. You let the e-collar pop, 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 do the popping for you, and then walk away and do everything that you're supposed to do, the 7 key fundamentals and everything else, okay? So pop releasing is very important, but when you're e-collar training, just let the dog hit the end of the bubble and let the e-collar be the popping.
And don't be afraid to increase the level of tension when you're popping and releasing. And sometimes you decrease that tension. Sometimes it's a light little pop release, and sometimes it's a little bit harder, okay? Play with it until you get the right result.
And don't be afraid to add multiple pop releases. Pop release, pop release, pop release, and pop release, okay? Nudge the dog back towards you. Don't yank the dog, nudge the dog back towards you. Now we're gonna go onto this dog's driveway and he's gonna pull ahead of me. This is his first time wearing a prong collar. So I'm going to ease him into all the pressure he's feeling. And some dogs sometimes react the way you're about to see here. He's going to kind of object to the pressure. Don't yank the dog. Keep your hand extended out and reset slowly and do it again. Here he reaches the end of the leash. He kind of objects a little bit and then I simply slowly walk away and start over. Okay, let's watch that in slow motion. When the dog goes ahead of me, extend your hand out forward. Let them hit the end of the bubble themselves, and their own body weight is what's going to put the pressure around the collar themselves. Keep your hand extended out like you're seeing here. Do not bring your hand to your stomach. Don't yank the dog. If I was going to pull the dog here, I'd give these gentle pop release, pop release, pop release, pop release. 3, 4, 5 in a row. Little ones, okay? Little nudges. Don't yank the dog and don't yank the prong collar. Very important, okay? And then you reset, walk away, and then do it again.
And same is true with any and all collars that you use. Whatever collar you want to use or work with throughout this course, when you do apply pressure, use pressure properly by giving a pop release on whatever collar is at the end of your leash, okay? That's how you use pressure properly. So thank you so much for watching this video. I highly recommend you stay open-minded to getting the micro educator, giving your dog a nice haircut on the side of their necks, and getting the absolute best results you could possibly ever dream of, especially if you have a reactive dog, because we're gonna need this with these reactive dogs, right? Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video in the course.